The home of the common Joe and the common Sally in the know, even more so than all those media talking heads. Expansion, conference realignment. Expansion, conference realignment. Just when you think those two topics are dead, here they come again, once again, on like a wild carousel that just keeps going round and round. And you think that topic's dead, it's not. Sort of like someone else we know, Tebow, the bitch out west, Lincoln Riley. Because just when you think he's through embarrassing himself, he puts himself right back in the news. But that's another topic for another day, but my obligatory shot at him and the Skittle Shears. But in today's show, we're going to talk about the fact that Florida State seems to have finally found a way out of the ACC. All the wrangling and browbeating of the ACC has finally worked out for Florida State, I think. And they may be finally getting out of the ACC. We're also going to talk about the college football playoff has now decided on a 5+7 format as they finally got it signed and got Oregon State and Washington State to come on board. Those were the two that were holding this whole thing up. Makes for some interesting talking points. So, let's talk about it. Well, look at what we have here. If it ain't the comment of the day, out the gate. And the comment of the day comes from that Christian Fam channel. Great channel, by the way. Check it out. And they say, keep in mind, Texas lost to OU last year. When Texas starts playing in the SEC, you will see how much you really hate them. And that was in reference to a topic that we broached about two Texas podcasters saying that Texas was going to indeed dominate the SEC coming in 2024. And now for the Four Horsemen shout-outs. And the Four Horsemen shout-outs go to Shane Moore, Sooners Legend Podcast, Hoss, and Squidwater are mounted up and ready to go and help us with today's college football invasion. And if you want to get your badge, get deputized, and get your Four Horsemen shout-out as well as possibly be the comment of the day, you can join the Outlaw Posse for $2.99 a month, 75 cents a week. That's just a half a bottle of water for the Outlaw. You can also do the big four, which are free, absolutely zero, and that is like, share, comment, and subscribe to this channel. Also, I can be reached on Twitter at OCF Productions, also known as X. Now, getting right to it here. Seems like Florida State may have a way out of this after all. And I tried to tell a few people a while back that a few of my buddies that I podcast with and, talk a lot of college football with, they just swore up and down that this grant of rights was unpenetrable. There's no way to get out of that grant of rights. And yet it looks like that the ACC is going to roll over and acquiesce to Florida State's wants and desires of getting out of the ACC. I think Florida State basically browbeat the ACC into this. I think the ACC just feels like that going forward, it's probably going to be a negative and very volatile and unhealthy relationship with Florida State being in the ACC. So they're willing to come to a middle ground. And that's what I'm hearing from Josh Pate and Sports Illustrated, among others, that they have come together and decided that they would maybe lessen the monetary buyout for Florida State with a few other things that maybe Florida State's going to do for the ACC in order to get out of the ACC. And Sports Illustrated was talking about 4 teams that could come into the ACC to replace Florida State and whoever else leaves after that. I hate to tell them this. Sports Illustrated is keeping the hope for the ACC staying alive. Maybe they're giving them a little bit of false hope, because I think it's probably going to be more than 4 teams leave the ACC. I think it's going to be at least 6, maybe even 8 that's going to leave. And when that happens, the entire conference may go by the wayside, just like the Pac-12 did this past offseason. And if that's the case, that could really benefit the Big 12. People keep talking about the Big Two, but if the Big 12 were able to pick up some of these ACC schools and add them to their conference, the Big 12 could become a very big player in the game of college football. Now, the Big 10 and the SEC may try to do something in order to block that. And another partner in crime here, and this whole deal sitting in the shade, like Josh Pate referred to in his podcast, is ESPN. ESPN owns the rights to the ACC's television contract, and all they got to do is pull a little lever down, hit the dump button, and they can make this whole ACC situation go away. They can either make it to where the ACC can survive, or they can make it to where the ACC folds like the Pac-12, in my opinion. I think once Florida State leaves, the obvious choices that will leave after will probably be Miami, Clemson, North Carolina State, Virginia Tech, and possibly Georgia Tech will probably all leave the ACC. The Big Ten will probably come in and try to get the teams they want. The Big Ten covets the Florida market, so there's real big rumors out there that Florida State may indeed be considering the Big Ten because they're trying to get that farce called an AAU status in order to be in the Big Ten. If that happens, they'll probably get Miami too. I don't know. The SEC may come in and try to fight for one of those teams. I don't know. I don't know how they feel. I don't know how Florida feels about another Florida team being in the conference, but it may not matter because it didn't matter for Texas as far as Texas A&M goes. You know, they promised not to bring Texas in, and they did in the SEC. So I think Florida just needs to do what's best for the conference. And what's best for the conference is for the SEC to probably get one of those two Florida teams so the Big Ten doesn't come down there and take up the Florida markets. Going forward from that, they was talking about the ACC, in order to save themselves, may go after teams like Tulane and who else was it? Maybe going back out west. They already got Stanford, California. Give Stanford, California some running mates out west. Maybe bring in Oregon State and Washington State, possibly San Diego State if they can get past that $34 million buyout. But it just comes down to this is a big old mess again. This conference realignment stuff, it's starting to give me a headache because it never stops, man. It never stops. But in conclusion to this topic, looks like Florida State is going to finally get their way. Now, talking about the college football playoff vote today, they voted today and they went to a 5+7 format. And they finally got Oregon State and Washington State to play nice with probably some incentives for those two teams going forward, especially if Oregon State and Washington State were to get in the ACC, something like that. Now, I know my buddy Kuz and a lot of West Virginia people have really coveted ACC membership. But at this point, do you really want to go to the ACC? It seems like the Big 12 may have a leg up on even the ACC now. You know, a few years back, it looked like the Big 12 was the conference that was going to fold. They were at the mercy of the Pac-12 and the SEC and the ACC and the Big 10. But they turned that around because the Pac-12 was too stupid to act on it, and they believed Kevin Warren's snaky ass from the Big 10. So now you got what you got. But the 5+7 format, I think, is a lot better because you're not going to really have the Pac-12 around anymore, so you really don't have a Power 5. And what they're going to do is they're going to take the top 4 conference champions by ranking and put them in as the top 4 seeds. Now, you may have a year where a conference champion is not in the top 4 of the AP poll. They may have lost a couple of games, but they're the highest ranked conference champion. So it's just a big old mess right now, but I think that's probably the best format going forward that you could hope for, because now Oregon State and Washington State like that format because it's 7 at-large bids. So if their teams are good enough to get in, more than likely they would get in. But that's what Heather Dinich and some people on ESPN were saying, was that the top 4 teams may not be the top 4 teams as far as people see aesthetically in the polls, and that one of the top 4 conference champions may be ranked really low. Like one year, Pittsburgh, she mentioned them had 2 or 3 losses in the ACC, and they were the ACC champions or something like that. I don't remember Pittsburgh winning the ACC title with 2 or 3 losses, but that's what she said. But they're also going to have, I think, I'm not sure about this, but I also heard that they're going to have some first round, maybe even the second round games on campus, which would be pretty cool. And then when you get to the Final Four, they would have it at neutral site games like they do right now. There's a lot to take in. You guys and gals, tell me what you think about all this. Do you think the 5+7 format's a fair format? If not, drop in the comment section. Tell me what you would do with the college football playoffs going forward. Do you think Florida State was right in browbeating ACC into submission, which is what I think they did? I think the ACC is just rolling over and giving up. Or do you think Florida State was in the wrong and this maybe the ACC should fight this? Drop in the comment section. Let me know. And that's all I got to say about that. There's a little heart down here. If you want to make a one-time donation, a little heart with a money dollar sign in the middle, smash that. Make a small donation to the program to keep the lights on. And as I said earlier, you can also join the Outlaw Posse for $2.99 a month, 75 cents a week. That's just a half a bottle of water. And you'll get your badge, you'll get deputized, possibly be one of the random 4 horsemen shout-outs, as well as possibly be the comment of the day. Like, share, comment, and subscribe to this channel. That's the big 4, and they're free. Subscribing and sharing is most important. Sharing is caring. KMCA to all the other teams. Class is now officially dismissed.